out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. And of course, that Twitter storm ended with Trump flat out calling his predecessor, President Obama, bad or sick. Quote, how low has President Obama gone to tap my phones during the very sacred election process? This is Nixon Watergate, bad or sick guy. Look, I'm a trial lawyer, and it occurs to me that the combination of those tweets is potentially defamatory. Not that I'd expect President Obama to file suit, but let's game this out. If Obama were to sue Trump, a public figure, then Obama's burden of proof would be actual malice, meaning he would have to show knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. In other words, it would be reckless for President Trump to say that President Obama committed a crime if President Trump knew that to be false or that he was reckless in making the assertion. Now, of course, truth would be a defense for President Trump. So what evidence or witnesses might Trump present on his own behalf to establish truth? Not Devin Nunes, the Republican chair of the House Intel Committee, who this week said he doesn't think there was an actual tap of Trump Tower, nor James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, who said no FISA warrant was issued on his watch for such a wiretap. FBI Director James Comey will testify on Capitol Hill come Monday. We already know that he was reportedly so upset at President Trump's claim that he wanted the Justice Department to refute it. And Trump can't count on the Brits, whose Prime Minister Theresa May had a spokesperson issue a statement saying the claim that their intel aided Obama in tapping Trump was, quote, ridiculous. Now, on Thursday, Sean Spicer spent 9 minutes quoting a long list of mostly conservative news sources close to him. But none of that is coming into evidence in our hypothetical. It's all hearsay. In fact, it's unreliable, double or triple hearsay at best. Many relied on anonymous sources of the very kind that President Trump has been railing against. Trump relied on Andrew Napolitano at Fox, who had no first-hand information of GCHQ, the equivalent of our NSA, having spied on Trump at the behest of Obama. Fox News itself said it could not substantiate Judge Napolitano's commentary. And speaking of the former president, we know from the statement issued by Obama's spokesperson that he claims to have never ordered the surveillance of a U.S. citizen. So, what's the verdict? The verdict is that President Obama appears to have a very strong claim for libel. He can establish every element of the tort. So what are President Obama's potential damages? Conceivably, he's entitled to punitive damages. Think about that for a minute. Punitive damages are damages designed to hurt, to punish, to deter. But of course, it all depends on the composition of the jury. Because to the 46% that got Trump elected, this is just noise. So what's going to happen next with President Trump's ongoing battle with the intel community? Joining me now, the former director of the CIA and NSA, General Michael Hayden. His memoir, Playing to the Edge, American Intelligence in the Age of Terror, is now in paperback. General, GCHQ is the British equivalent of the NSA that you ran here in the United States. Is it conceivable to you that the British equivalent of the NSA would get a telephone call from an American president who says, please tap the phones or the office space of someone running for president, and that they would cooperate?
Michael, I'm sorry. I'm trying to suppress a laugh here. That is so far from reality, so far from the relationship we have within the Five Eyes community. Look, we're really close. It is an integrated operation, but one absolute rule is that no one can ask a partner to do that which is illegal for himself or that which is illegal for the partner. And that's never been done in the Five Eyes Alliance.
Has the NSA, to your knowledge, I have to ask this just to close the loop, ever been asked in a similar type of circumstance by one of our allies, will you please eavesdrop on someone seeking the highest office in our land?
Michael, that's way up there in terms of seriousness. I'm telling you, we can't do anything for an ally that the ally itself isn't allowed to do. And so, no, you can't export or offshore these requirements because your law prevents you from doing them. I mean, look, this is done by the rule of law. I get it that it's espionage, it's secret, it gets... If they ever got wind of this, my God, it would be a nuclear detonation.
Where is it going, and what concerns General Michael Hayden the most?
Yeah, so number one, because the White House is sticking to this story, in about, what, Michael, a 15-minute period yesterday, we embarrassed one and angered another of our most important allies in the world. So, core question, where is this going? I found that interview with the president and Tucker Carlson quite interesting. Some folks said that he was doubling down on his claim. Actually, I don't think so. I think he was picking up his chips and going to another table. He was backing away from the literal accusation that President Obama had done, which you've reported on, ordered the wiretapping of Trump in Trump Tower. I think where this is going, Michael, and I think this is the lifeline that I think the administration is hoping they can grab onto, is something that we call incidental collection. And it may take a minute, but I can explain to you and your viewers how this might work if you like. So, if we're up against a legitimate foreign intelligence target, and let me just, for purposes of explanation, say we're targeting, and you'd want us to do this, a Russian oligarch who's involved in money laundering, or how about sanctions busting, all right? And so we're on that target. And this is, by the way, Michael, this happens fairly routinely. If that target now gets involved in a communication to, from, or even about a U.S. person, okay, we're still allowed to continue to cover the target. We just have to protect the U.S. person privacy. We do what's called minimize the information. So we might say this Russian oligarch in an extended conversation with a named U.S. person, so on and so forth, said this. And we keep the U.S. identity minimized, unavailable to our customers, unless, of course, Michael, the named U.S. identity is critical to the intelligence. Let's say, for example, that the oligarch was actually arranging an illegal transfer of funds, in which case we would unmask the identity so that we'd have a full picture of the intelligence. Now, keep in mind, we're just targeting the foreigner. This is called incidental collection. And the unmasking of the U.S. identity isn't Trump, isn't Bush. It goes back 40 years, these procedures, to the reforms in the American intelligence community in the 1970s. So I suspect if there is any example of a U.S. identity being unmasked that has any relationship to the Trump campaign or Trump Tower. And again, Michael, very normal, very correct, very legal. I think at that point, the White House goes, aha, I told you so. I think this is where it's going.
Do I understand General Hayden to be predicting that perhaps the next step of this is that the Trump White House seeks to criminalize the incidental collection of U.S. intelligence? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, mischaracterize and criminalize. And Michael, very tellingly, Devin Nunes and Adam Schiff, chair and ranking of the House Intelligence Committee within the last 36 hours, has actually asked the American intelligence community, was there any incidental collection? Were any identities unmasked? And who requested the unmasking? So I do think we are going to that point again, which I think at the end of the day will be mischaracterized, and there will be an attempt to claim that that's some sort of violation.
Okay, that's a pretty significant prognostication from General Hayden. What would be the impact of that on the intelligence community.
And look, anybody who knows the business would simply go, yeah, that's how this is always done. This is actually a very good way to do our job and protect American